All right, so the next one is it Bence Blazer? How you doing, Argos? So here's your portfolio. Bence or Benjo, environment artist, Norwich, nice. I'm probably saying that wrong. Usually am. So okay, you want to be an environment artist. We've got some articles, some relighting scenes, a Gumroad supply case generator for Houdini. That's kind of cool. Violin, and then it looks like 3 environments, and then the article for that environment. Nice. Dude, I worked on this. That's so weird. I recognize it too, like immediately. That's cool. Okay, so right off the bat, let's just kind of go down the check mark list or the checkbox list. So you want to be an environment artist. We see 3 environments, some props, some more technical stuff, relighting, and then an article. It's nice that the article is on the very end here, just because, like, I mean, I think it's a good idea to have like articles and things you're selling near the end. And then after that, you've got these 3 scenes and a prop. Your thumbnails are relatively all right. They're framed strangely, and it's this one, for example, feels pretty good but a little empty. This one's framed all right. It doesn't really have a focal, like, lighting wise. It feels like maybe it should be more front lit. This side is darker, so I guess it's the light's coming from this way. Yeah, you got a shade there. This one's pretty good thumbnail wise. None of your thumbnails are really like popping out as like, hey, I look wrong. But they're not really engaging either, right? So it's like you see enough and you don't need to click it, I guess, to see more, if that makes sense. So like this one, for example, my gut reaction when I mouse over this is it says violin and I see a violin and I don't need to click this now because I've seen it. If I click it, I get a little bit of a higher res image. It's a violin in the corner of a room. Got some modeling, some wireframes. I don't know if you need wireframe on this, because when I see the wireframe, it only leaves opportunity for me to question what your intentions were with the way the details are all like all of these coming to a single point in the middle here. I guess is because the curve of the surface needs to come forward, which if you're baking a normal map, you can do that inside of the normal. I am also seeing some issues by triangulating it like that. You're seeing some issues in the normal map itself. There's some artifacts, some normal map artifacts happening around these points. There's actually quite a bit of them. So it'd be really important, I think, to focus on those issues. Wow, this is super high res. With this being this high res, if the asset's really good, right, someone could actually take this, and depending on if they can get the model or not, like if you have like a 3D version of it in your portfolio, they can strip it pretty easily. I guess they wouldn't even need this then. But yeah, watch out for these types of details. I'm getting the sense that you didn't have to bake from a high poly from these. You baked off of the low poly and then you went in and added like these kind of textural information. And then there's just a little bit of oddness in like these like normal map issues that you should watch out for. Let's see what else we got going on here. The material on it looks all right. I think when you scroll up here and you see this shot, you can see you've got some aliasing going on here, and this is just a matter of like making sure. Yeah, see, that's super weird. So it's not you. It's ArtStation. In this case, I might not make this 4K, and having a more engaging scene of like maybe an angle where the camera is really close to it and you can see the light like shining across it. Because texturally, it's very rough on the surface, whereas I guess it's usually more of a clear coat, right? And you expect it to be much smoother. So watch out for that. Uh, the Also, when I saw in the what I saw in the texture here, she's got some like dirt that's happening around here, and almost always, well, most of the time, I wouldn't say almost always, most of the time, the dirt doesn't really have enough height on it in order to have it in the normal map. And I saw it in the normal map down here. You want to be putting it in your roughness. And roughness is quite an important map. So when you're doing a pack like this, make sure your roughness is in your, I believe it's your green channel. Is it your green channel? Or is it the blue channel? It's a green channel. Yeah, it's a green channel. Because blue channels, anyways, green channel's got an extra bit of data. Make sure you put your information in the roughness in the green channel. I almost confused myself. But yeah, overall the scene is fine. It's just not really engaging. I guess if there was the bow, I think it's called the bow, right? If the bow was there, that would be really nice, because then you just have another angle that's coming in. This hard edge is really sharp, so just kind of beveling that so it's not distracting you. And I think you'd be good. When we get to this this cyber flat, I like it. Yeah, the aliasing issue. This thing, that's kind of scary. That should probably be told to ArtStation. Yeah, and that the violin scene does look like a still life painting a little bit. Yeah, with it's very like chilled. Oh, really? Okay. Uh, yeah. So looking at this scene, everything's very. First off, let's talk about the things that are pretty good with it. So you've got enough things happening on the ceiling that the ceiling doesn't just look flat and boring. Ceilings are really difficult to just kind of do. They end up usually being boring. I'll just lower this a bit and just kind of look around here. It's nice. The sparks usually have a burst, right? Because they usually peak, which causes the burst to come out, and then it'll peak again and burst. So keep thoughts on that. Oh, nice flickering light. Don't go too crazy with the sparks, but and then it's nice to have motion in the environment. Even though you've got the cable swaying here and you've got the cable swaying here, I would actually remove the cable from this shot and then get the payoff of having the cable swinging here. With this angle, I think the interest is supposed to be on the door, right? So getting some more information to tell a story on the door would probably be the most important. The graffiti looks pretty cool. I don't know if you painted that yourself, but it looks nice. Oh, that's interesting. You're doing what is it? A focal. I forget what it's called, but you're zooming in, but changing the FOV at the same time. Is a rack shift, or I forget the name. Looks cool though. They do that a lot in scary movies. Like the focal length shifts. It's a dolly cam. It's like a focal shift, a rack focus. That's what it's. Oh, this is nice. So you have quite a bit of details going on, and you are doing a lot of storytelling in here. All the suggestions in chat are great. Because they're all, yeah, you get a vertigo effect is what they're usually going for. This is really cool. There's no mouse. What? I guess at this point in time, are we all interacting with their hands? Can you imagine modeling like that with no mouse? So I think where you're suffering a bit, or the most, when it comes to this scene, is the materials. It's hard to tell what the materials are. Oh, there are some resolution issues as well. when you have a still shot, I would try to be careful with having the sparks being caught in the scene. But I think it really comes down to the materials. The environment is a little overly bright, so these under areas could be a little bit darker, and everything's very samey in color. So it's like it was very, very much designed together. It's a dolly out with zoom in. Thanks, Andre. Let's take a peek here. So if we look at your levels, bring that up and then bring this down. You can see how warm everything is. It's pretty, oh, is that a Matrix poster? Lock open, nice. So there's a lot of logic happening in here, which is really good. And I'm just trying to figure out like where it's falling apart. There's some information like this type of details. I'm not sure if you want that in the normal map because it just kind of confuses you as to what that material is, right? Like my brain is telling me this is metal, but then I have this type of information which is telling me that it's supposed to be like some type of concrete or it's been damaged, but it's so clean but still damaged. I don't know. So thinking about that type of stuff, there's some things happening over here which feel really strange just because they're so soft. I think you're trying to go for maybe like paint on brick, and there's some scrape marks as well that are going behind the beam. The glass or the plastic that's in front of that must be glass, right? It's got to be glass. It's a microwave. Got to be safe. Hamish, what's up, man? How you doing? So watch out for this surface. I'll do that for you, Hamish. I'll do that later. Ask Foozle. If it's okay. Let's see if I can just... Because just doing something like this is already less... It feels less strange, right? So I'm not sure what's happening here. So there's a lot of information that you're pushing through materials without thinking. I feel like it's without thinking about what the material is. So if this is supposed to be paint, you're not going to have like that soft fade, right? It's going to be much more extreme on like the camera. Looks 10 out of 10. Thanks, dude. The paint's going to look much more along the lines of like harsh edges, right? Or where it's peeling. You're going to want to do this instead of painting it like this. You're going to want to do it with a mask. So you have the paint version of your brick material, and then you have the brick material itself. The brick looks glossy as well, does it? I mean, it's very chalky feeling right now. This is cool with the lights on the ceiling. But it's grounding everything and understanding like, okay, this is floating on the wall, but like, where is this edge here? Like, if this is this cyberpunk type of or cyber-esque scene, and then you've got these wood beams, it's just like clashing of two things, which is, I mean, that can be kind of cool. Audrey, that could be cool, but it's like understanding that when those two things clash, you have to be able to unify them in a way where it doesn't feel like they're clashing. Like maybe where these wood beams come down, there needs to be some type of metal bracket thing that's connecting it all back together, because you've got like metal and wood just meeting in such a clean way that you have to watch out for like how odd that feels. I think everything, minus this and the microwave, everything has a pretty soft feel to it, roughness-wise. So nothing is really sticking out and going, hey, I'm metal, or hey, I'm plastic, or I'm a glass surface. So everything is very muted and flat feeling. So that's also kind of making the scene feel flatter as well. That's interesting with the lock being here instead of on here. So keep all of this information in mind with the, oh, and this is nice. This is kind of cool because this shows like a little bit more of a technical side to what you're interested in. Detail Lightroom, yeah. And I would go crazy when it comes to like detail propping. Like you'd have like 3 or 4 assets that you can kind of spam around, like little boxes, and like these posters or the framed pictures are a great opportunity to just swap the pictures out for a bunch of other stuff and do it quite easily, right? There's some books here, so maybe like making some stacked books or books that are leaning on things. Maybe something that's hidden up here. That would be kind of interesting because there's space up there. So it's just there's just opportunities to push it further, and the materials aren't really shining yet. Like this is a great opportunity for metal to really kind of look quite reflective. So thinking about your materials, understanding like the scale of the scene. The scale here feels very different from the scale here. Having a character placed in here and just trying to understand how you, the scale of a bull in the hand of the character. Just putting a character in there while you're working is going to help you immensely. Plants is an interesting idea. Oh, it's Best Friends Club says the Japanese says opened and lock here. I mean, is it not? I mean, it does say open and lock. That's not too weird. Because it just means the door is always openable unless you press the lock button. And when you press it, it'll, you know, open. That's my sound effects for you for the night. But yeah, I think we spent enough time on that. It's the scale. Watch your scale. And materials are going to be everything. And when you combine these two scenes, like organic with man-made sci-fi type stuff, be careful with that. And I applaud you for animating anything that's animated in here from the video. That's great. And I feel like the graffiti, there could be more graffiti maybe in here. Oh, I didn't even see this. This is nice. It's just the surfaces, man. I want to feel surfaces, right? And I'm not feeling them. Let's go to this one. I don't know if Hamish is still here, but you can check this out. So the grass looks pretty good. Dude, Tony's amazing. This guy's a freaking machine. Tony Trance. So looking at this scene, I think you did a pretty good job on the mud and the material for the ground. It's watching out for these patterns, right? Where this kind of feels like just a purling noise that you're pushing through to get the kind of puddly look. Watch out for that. And then whenever I'm sure in the references you see cables and stuff everywhere, this is really nice. It's lifting in weird spots and it goes under the box. But yeah, adding cables and moving things around along the ground is really going to kind of push the emptiness of this and make the paths a little stronger. I don't know if you're placing the paths like these. I don't know if those are placed or if that's part of the terrain. They look like they're placed when I see this view. So I would maybe try and make them, at least in this view, they're darker, but in this view, they're not. So if you can make them darker, then you're going to see the path a little bit stronger. I think that would also affect where the puddles are going to be. Oh, that's interesting. Best Friends Club. We'll have to, they'll see this on the stream, so that's good. It shows up right here. Overall, it looks all right. The trees are really kind of funky. And the way the branches are clumped up. If the focus is to make the environment, right, it is totally okay to grab trees that exist from like the marketplace or whatever Speed Tree has for free. You can put those in there. Hey, thanks, Keith. You can put those in there and it's totally fine. Just make sure you credit it somewhere in here. The other thing is everything is kind of in shadow. With the sun being this low, you also expect it to be a little bit warmer. So if the sun was higher, then you would start to see the shapes of all these boxes and stuff. And then that would allow also the lighting to kind of affect the surface of all of these materials. So everything is still very flat feeling when it comes to what is this material, what is that material, is this plastic, is this metal, and then making sense out of like how these are all constructed. Like this is it's very clean, right? And even with this fence stuff, if you can add some extra cuts and just bend the fences a little bit, the surface of the fence, you're going to get much more depth and kind of volume out of it. And because you're making it as fan art versus like, what would you call it? Fan art versus you making your own stuff, you can kind of just, you can go nuts and just make it exact. Like you can see the concept and just go crazy with it. Let me see if I can see if we got Tony's. Yeah, there's some crazy stuff. So I think this is the one you were building on. Yeah, because if you see also the grass, I mean, I think you got the grass saturation seems to be pretty close. It's a little bit more yellow in yours. Let's just do this. We'll grab that and we'll grab this. See to get the angle. That's, yeah. So looking at, man, it's always crazy when you do comparison. This is the scary part about making fan art, is it's already been made, right? So you're going off of you're gonna be compared to them no matter what, if that makes sense. But you can see how little grass there is in here, and then there's also all of this equipment that's around this building. There's also this stuff with like the solar panels, and you're missing that. That's an opportunity to have some type of breakup in here. There's also, how interesting. There seems to be there's more beams here, and they have a bit of a depth to them. And because of that depth and how many beams there are, you can see on the side in the concept, it becomes much more, like you can see that's like a cutaway into a door and maybe a window. And because these are so deep that you lose the green on the side. So you get a sense of breakup and some interesting shadows that you're kind of getting here. They're just not, the light is just not high or like low enough. Oh, this is weird. Because now I'm seeing like the light is here and it's casting this way, whereas yours is over this direction. I think if it was more to the right of the scene, you'd probably be getting similar lighting information. This stuff up here feels super flat. These feel like boxes basically with textures. So watch out for shortcuts like that. I would just commit to it. Because you model one of those and then all three of them are good. The depth on here is pretty all right. That looks okay. I think with this scene, it's mostly about the ground and getting all of those puddles and those details to match up. Maybe use F-Spy to camera match the concept. Yeah, you could do that. I see it. You're missing a vehicle, which is fine because I assume you're like, I don't want to try and make vehicles as well. You can see if you can find vehicles online. So it's like I see everything is here. It's just missing a lot of like surfaces that you're expecting to see, and like it's the ground. I think the ground is where you're getting hit hard. Let's keep going. Let's look at this one, Left Behind. Oh yeah, I actually saw this one. This one's really good. I like this one. Just kind of take it in real quick here. I always like these animated GIFs for showing progress. I mean, I guess you can do video now, right? But overall, the lighting is interesting. These cables feel maybe a little too dark. And that's the focus, right? It's called Left Behind. This is really cool. It's based on a photo I found. Nice. I would probably link the photo or like a URL to that location. this is pretty cool. Understanding the different materials like this, what this material is, and getting that roughness. Oh, ArtStation just went down for you? Oh my god, don't tell me that. So understanding what this material is and what this one is and what this material is, and getting the surfaces to feel right. Like you can see here, it's very rough, right? And I'm sure in the, see, I can't even look at the image, the photo that you found. Our station's been acting funny for 15 minutes. Oh my god, not like this, not like this. Nice. Yeah, so you got a character in here for scale. Handles are, yeah, that feels about right. Your cable work here is really cool, and I appreciate that you took the time to put those cables in, because those are the things that help ground and make sense out of things. I would even put, like, if you get the camera close enough, I would be putting what do you call it? The little staples that kind of hold them in place. So the ground here, people are just commenting on it in chat. Talon uh, has some nice depth to it. I really like how sharp, or not sharp, how rounded this. My brain was thinking opposites. That was really weird. I like how soft the edge feels here and how it's kind of rounded a bit. It almost looks like it was sculpted, but there's some nice, like, simple breakup on the surfaces. And then you've got some color to, like, distinguish. This is where references or photos really come into play, right? Because you get these details, which you would often not think about. And then or like even here, you get details like these tape or the strap thing that's keeping those in place, or keeping this plank or whatever that is in place. You don't think about that stuff, but when you see it in a reference, you got to put it in, right? And then once it's there, everything else looks so natural for reasons maybe the viewer doesn't even understand why. I wish I could see an albedo only of this, because I feel like your albedo ranges sometimes are getting too dark. And maybe it's the ambient occlusion. Andre, come on, man. I'm gonna call you later. We're gonna have a chat about that. But overall, this is quite a strong scene. It looks really good, and you should be proud of this one. The dirtiness here, I wonder if it's gonna be like strange to have it so uniformly go up the wall, but you have some really nice breakup happening on the wall, and there's like patches or something going on here that's really cool. Super subtle information that's just kind of happening. It's really interesting. These might be too white, the albedo, so they're really popping out, right? They stick out to you. But yeah, let's actually. So you have a blog. Oh, nice. That's awesome. You covered that. Yeah. See, this is like. Why does that look so much better than the? See, this looks really good too. I feel like maybe the grain is too large, right? But this is great. This is awesome that you document this stuff. There is a high poly as well. All right. All right. Very cool. If you go to your about section, I would, if you can, fill this out a bit more. Talk about like where you came from, like what your interests are. Just like a small paragraph in here would be good enough. And let's look at this really quick. Oh, dude, that's cool. That's a cool use of this. But if you're wanting to be an environment artist, this isn't too interesting to maybe like the environment team. I find this interesting because now I see like what you're thinking about. You're thinking about reuse and like how do you get so much out of, like, what can you use Houdini for art. Doing a relighting is nice. We won't really look into that too much, but you're getting better. I can see you getting better. Let me see here. This is 2 years ago. This is a year ago. And this one's 4 months ago. Yeah. I think watching out for textile density is something that you should be paying attention to. Scale again, and then materials. Because I see from back here, you got some dark stuff here, but overall, when it's lit, you're getting really light values of noise in this material, and maybe it's like that in the reference. So I can't poke on it too much, dude. These are all different too. That's great. They show that they've kept getting sat on. you know, very cool, very cool. Things to focus on for the future, I would say, is just more scenes. What's up, Foxtrot? How you doing? So more scenes. Make another environment. Doesn't have to be big. Like this is a great size. It's very manageable, right? Working on your lighting, composition. Composition, this one's really strong, but I think it's because you're following the composition of the original photo. Storytelling is pretty strong in this as well. I think because you followed everything, it's everything from the photo. It's very strong. So I think the number one thing you should be looking at, though, is materials and really pushing how to separate out your materials, specifically in the roughness. And when it's metal, make sure it's metal. And when it's not metal, it's not metal, right? There's a metal in this map. Sometimes people go into the gray value. You got to watch out for that. But yeah, overall, I would say you're not there yet. But with the scene like this, going further, if it keeps hopping in quality like that, I think the next one is going to be getting you some attention. And yeah, hopefully that was useful.